Like I
Yes,
said,
sir.
this is a okay. This is a very, very, very important topic. Um,
You happy for us to move?
sorry, Lamin Cham, are you talking to class or talking to yourself?
Mr. Kawan,
Yes, sir. Mama?
but the one, yes, the one you have here and in our notes, they are quite different.
They're quite different. No, no, no. There is not much difference in them, and I think I've shared the slides as well. I downloaded it. I shared with you on the WhatsApp group, didn't I? I did that. If I remember, Umar Mane was the one who requested for it, and I did it. Anyway, if I have not done it after the class, I will. I'm going to share it again. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Right. So we're going to move. We're going to move. Right. So, like I said, we stopped at reasons for managing our environmental costs. So, we're going to continue from there. Okay. So, the first point is people are now becoming aware of their carbon footprint. Okay. What that means, I explained it last class, is people are becoming aware of how they contribute to the emission of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide. Okay, as human beings, I told you, we contribute a lot to greenhouse gases, especially CO2. Okay, in the first place, as humans, in order for us to live, we have to take in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Okay, so the gas we breathe out is not a good one. It contributes to environmental problems as human beings, but we don't have any choice. Okay, so that's why we have to ensure that we substitute those gases. And one of the main things is, planting trees. Because if you live in an area where there are lots of trees, you tend to live healthier and you tend to live longer. Why? Because whatever you breathe in will be, free air. Because what you do is you take in oxygen and you breathe out CO2, and the trees or the plants that you live around with, they absorb those CO2, and then in return, they give back CO2. So that means, in return, they give back oxygen. So that means you take the good one from the plant, you give them your bad one, and then they take your bad one from you. Can you imagine this? This is very, 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 very good. You take in the good one from the plant, that's the oxygen, okay? And what you take out is the bad one. Once you take it, the plants consume it, and then they turn into a good one. Beautiful, okay? So people are very much aware of their carbon footprints, especially those in the West. That's why I was giving an example. If people go to supermarkets to do their shopping, some of them obviously looks out for manufacturers of those products they are going to buy. These manufacturers, are they manufacturers who are good to the environment? Are they manufacturers who have recently contributed to environmental, damage, environmental pollution, and so on and so forth? So if they determine that the product they want to buy have been produced by, manufacturers who recently or who previously have, contributed to environmental degradation, they can boycott those products and then go for their competitors. Okay? So it's really, really important to be aware of your carbon footprint. Okay? So as individuals, we need to put that into consideration. Okay, so the second thing is environmental costs are becoming huge for some companies. Okay, environmental cost. Thirdly, when you look at regulation, the regulation they put in place in terms of organizations that damage the environment, there are a lot of penalties attached to those regulations. So if you fall victim of those environmental laws, you can, you can be subjected to a complete, close down of your organization as a result of heavy fines. Okay, a typical example has been given here. There's a UK plant hire company called John Cracksford Plant Hire Limited. Okay, they had to pay £85,000 sterling, and not only paying that, but they had to, forfeit about 1.2 million of their assets. Okay, as a result of not doing good to the environment. Okay? So, because of such reasons, people are really, really careful about their environmental costs. Okay, so let's look at some of the environmental costs. The first category is conventional costs. Okay, these are raw material and energy costs that have got relevance to the environment. Okay, examples are the raw materials. Once we process it, the ones that become waste have got issues with the environment. Okay, because they pollute the environment. So material waste is a conventional environmental cost. Electricity, of course, and fuel cost. The second category is potential hidden costs. Okay, hidden costs, these are costs that are captured by accounting system, but then they're losing their identity in general overheads. We know once you put them in general overheads. Okay, examples are depreciation on machines. Okay, because machines that are used for manufacture, okay, those machines kind of contribute to environmental costs. So the depreciation on those machines, since depreciation is a cost in our books, so the depreciation on those machines are hidden environmental costs. Okay. So we have contingent costs. These are costs to be incurred at a future date, example, cleanup costs or legal costs. If an organization is involved in environmental pollution, for example, okay, they may be liable to legal fees, and of course, they may be liable to, cleanup costs. An example I was giving you with NAWEC, last class I was giving an example of NAWEC, whereby they were fined by PURA. Okay, so if it is something that actually materialized, because we all know Gambia, we believe in this crazy maslaha syndrome. It's just not doing us any good. Okay, but in case PURA insisted that they pay the fines, they will not only stop at paying fines, but there will be cleanup costs also, and there may be legal fees. For example, the areas they have polluted as a result of leakage of pipe and so on and so forth, PURA may insist that they clean up those, those areas. Okay, so they're all part of contingent costs. Okay, so image and relationship costs. Okay, costs that by their nature are intangible. For example, the cost of preparing environmental reports. Okay, environmental reports. You could, be required as an organization to prepare periodic environmental costs. So any cost relating to the preparation of those environmental reports is an image or a relationship cost. Okay, this may include, for example, if you require, consultants to prepare your environmental report for you, any fees that is paid to those consultants, the stationery they use, and so on and so forth. Okay. So, any questions before we go to identifying environmental costs? How do we identify them, and how do we take care of them after identifying them? Any questions or any contributions? I hope you're following. Are you with me? Are you with me, class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You following? Are you? Abdul Aziz, are you with us today?
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Fofana.
Abdul Aziz, are you with us? Abdul Aziz,
Yes,
no.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Right. Okay. So shall we proceed? Shall we? Okay. I don't want to be doing all the talking. Yeah. Topics like this are kind of boring to accountants because what accountants enjoy is to, you know, crunch numbers, and so on and so forth. So that's what we like. But we need to know, what are behind those numbers and what are in front of those numbers. Okay, so it's really, really important that we know, things like this because they help us a great deal to manage the numbers. Okay, so are we going to move right? So how do we identify environmental costs? Okay, the environmental costs after your end of year or after your quarter, you want to prepare an a quarterly environmental report and any costs or benefits associated to those. How are you going to look for them? We've seen the various categories of environmental costs, the costs that are possible that can, be environmental costs. We've seen them, isn't it, in previous slides. But now my question is, how do we identify them in our books of accounts as accountants? Mind you, we are doing environmental management accounting. You're required by your boss to prepare an environmental management accounting, maybe a half yearly one or a yearly one or monthly one. And then you've been asked to report on environmental costs and environmental revenue. How are you going to look for them? That's my question. How are we going to look for them? Omar Mane, are you with us today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you answer my question? How are we going to look for them? Do you understand my question in the first place? Let me repeat. Look, we are doing environmental management accounting. Okay, environmental management accounting. We've all agreed during our last class that it is about identifying, reporting, and analyzing environmental revenue and environmental cost. Okay, which will be provided to management for decision making. We all know, as management accountants, our main reason of being part of the organization is to provide information, financial and non-financial, to management so that it can help in decision making. Is that clear? So we have been required by our boss to prepare, let's say, a quarterly environmental report. And your boss said, okay, I'm giving you this task. You have to prepare this quarterly environmental report. So now what are you going to do? How are you going to find this information?
That information, based on my understanding,
Mm-hmm.
like when a company is producing like a product,
Mm-hmm.
the level of pollution, that is an environmental cost.
Okay.
But due to that pollution, they can gain some revenue out of that business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the revenue will be related to what they gain
Okay.
in producing that product. Now, the level of pollution or the waste that they normally throw out, or things like that, that can be categorized as the environmental costs.
Very good. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Omar. But my question is, if we have to find financial information on those costs you are talking about, where are we going to look for it in our books?
Can I come in, please?
Yes.
Yes, they are found in the general ledgers.
Okay. We will find, of course, the information in our general ledger. Do we know what a general ledger is? What is a general ledger? As accountants, we need to know these things there. What is our general ledger? What is our general ledger?
So a general ledger, is it not the ledger where all entries are made? You know, when they enter it in the individual accounts, I think there is another account that where all the entries will be made.
Okay. So the general ledger is a set of accounts where all entries end before they are summarized in the trial balance. Please take note of this. If you are into selling on credit, and if you are into purchasing on credit for your business, okay, and if you pay cash and you receive cash, so what do? You keep for your sales on credit. What do you keep? What do you keep? You keep your sales ledger, isn't it? Your sales ledger will include your accounts receivables ledger and the summary of the sales ledger. Where will that summary go to? That summary will go to the general ledger. Okay? The individual, how to call it, a receivables account will have a control account that's going to be kept in the general ledger. If you go to your purchases ledger, can you allow me to learn, please? If you go to your purchases on credit, you will have ledgers for all your creditors, and you will have you'll have a summary accounts payables account. That summary accounts payables account will go to your GL. The summary, the total summary or the control account of your individual creditors will also go to your general ledger. If you are operating a cash, cash accounting, okay, if you keep a cash book, your cash receipts and your cash payments will be entered in the primary book called cash book, isn't it? Those cash books, the individual ledgers of each of the accounts will end up in general ledger, and the summary of the cash book itself will end up in general ledger. So general ledger is where everything ends up. So take note of that. Then from the general ledger, that's when the general ledger is also called nominal ledger. Yeah, it's also called nominal ledger. Then from your nominal ledger, that's when you prepare your trial balance, and then the trial balance is used to prepare your income statement and your balance sheet. Okay, is that clear? So now if you want to find any costs relating to the environment, you will have to go to your general ledger. Is that clear? Is that clear? Somebody wanted to say something?
Yes.
Amadou, you wanted to say something?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, good. So the first point of call is our GL. Okay, so what do? We go and review our general ledger. We look out for costs that may relate to materials. So if we're going to look out for costs that will relate to materials, which account are we going to look at in our general ledger? Which account are we going to look at? We're going to go and look at our purchases account. Come on. You need to understand, don't only understand WNE, we have to know where each and every expenditure go. Very, very important. So if you want to find the cost of your materials, you will go to your purchases account, isn't it? If you want to find the cost of your utilities, where do you go? Utilities, where do you go?
Is it not administrative?
Okay, there will be under administrative cost fine, but weak accounts under the administrative cost. Utilities, water, sewage, electricity, they're all part of utilities, isn't it? Okay, so please let's take note of this. It's really important because environmental management accounting, like I said, and environmental accounting in general is becoming very, very, very important. Okay, people want to know how organizations take care of their environment. Okay, so you could be asked to prepare reports like that. So you have to know how to prepare them. Okay. Okay. So, but the main problem is, however, that most of the costs will have to be found within the category of general overhead. You know, on general ledger, you can have the general overheads. Okay. Now, how do you dip down into the overheads and then try to find which one belongs to utilities, which one belongs to waste, which one belongs to materials, and so on and so forth, is the work that needs to be done. Okay. But once you know where you can find your cost related to the environment, is easy. Okay, it might be difficult and it might be lengthy, but it's really, really worthwhile. Okay, so you have to identify the ledger accounts that you need to look out for the costs, identify those ledger accounts, identify their codes, and then if you have an accounting system, it's just a question of doing a report to capture those costs. Is that clear?
Yes, it is.
Good. So let's move on. Now, how do we control environmental costs? How do we control them? How do we control our material waste? How do we control our utilities cost, and so on and so forth? Before we go to the slides, let's brainstorm over it. How do we control it? Please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Okay, Aji Hadi Toure. Hadi, are you with us? Hadi? Hadi, are you with us? Aisatu Jesuso. Aisatu, are you with us? I want to make sure everybody follows, okay? That's really important. Nyima Kamara? Nyima? What's happening to these people? Do they just log on and then they go and do something else, or what? What actually happens to them? Or they just refusing to answer me? What's the problem? Rabiatu Ba? Rabiatu? Rabiatu, are you with us?
Yep. Mr. Ba, I'm following.
Yes, I'm following.
You're following?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us, how do we control environmental costs? It's a common thing. Everybody, we can name them until tomorrow morning. First we know our environmental costs. We already know them, the various categories, their nature. Now, how do we control them?
So, Mr. For recycling, I think it can be categorized in it.
Yes, recycling, exactly. Yes, we could recycle. That's one way of doing it. Very, very good. Yes.
And also to take measurements, like how many products will the company produce based on the raw material purchase.
Okay.
I think when they do that, that will also help them to minimize the waste.
Yes, by measuring and ensuring that whatever product they're going to make is of the right quality and the right materials are used to do it. Yes, that's really important. Okay.
Sewage.
Sewage. Okay, how do we control sewage, Nima? What is sewage in the first place? What is sewage?
I just it there.
No, your just is correct. Your just is correct. Sewage is a cost. It's an environmental cost. You know, sewage is this is part of the cost that we pay to maybe our municipality and also individuals who come and how to call it, drain our septic tank and stuff. These are costs that we bear even at personal level, isn't it? So, but if we want to minimize sewage, what do we do? If we want to minimize the cost of sewage, what do we do? Lots of things. You know, 90% of sewage is water. Do you know that?
Yeah. See, yeah, it's water.
It's water. Yeah, 90% of sewage is water. Okay. So
Yes. Yeah.
how do we control water? Lots of ways. Lots of ways.
Mr. Fofana, I think if we want to minimize sewages, and we need to have a good machineries that will help us refine those wastewater into use products.
Okay, just like they do in UK. Somebody was saying last class that the mineral water, they use it from the refined sewage water. That's not the case. But actually, they refine. You're spot on, Rahi. You're spot on. Yes, you can refine sewage water in such a way that those refined water could be used for gardening. It could be used for washing our laundry. It could be used for even washing our plates, because the way they refine it in such a way that it's chemicalized. There are no issues with the water except that you cannot drink it. So that's the only.
Mr. Fofana.
Yes, Nima.
Is it also correct to say you minimize the use of water when it's raining?
You minimize the use of water.
Yeah.
When it's raining.
During raining.
No.
Yes, Nima, go ahead. You say during rains.
Yeah, the amount of water you use to minimize the to control sewage is the amount of water you use.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. What you might say makes a lot of sense. If it is raining, don't allow your tank, your septic tank, to be connected to the rainwater, so that it's gonna. That's why some people have got lots of problems. I've seen some places in Talindi area, in Fajikunda area, during the rains, they kind of drain their septic tank every 2 weeks or sometimes every month. The reason is they allow rainwater to, to go into their septic tank. That's another way of controlling it, because at personal level, assuming that that's an organization, every 2 weeks you have to drain, or every month you have to drain. If you have to drain every month, you have to call this guy. And now the minimum they charge in my area in Bruce Wayne is like 1,500 per trip. That's very expensive, isn't it? Yeah. So why do you want to waste that? Okay. So good. I'm happy that we know what we're talking about. So let's go to our slides and then we discuss them, and then that will make it faster. Okay. So controlling environmental costs, we've said some of them. Okay. So the first thing that we look at is waste. How do we control waste? Somebody has already said it. If we are into manufacturing, there are various ways of controlling waste. The first and foremost thing is you must make sure you buy raw materials that are of high quality. Okay, high quality raw material. For example, in a printing press that prints newspapers. Okay, they usually buy newsprints. Paper called newsprint. Okay, if you buy quality newsprints, there will be low wastage when printing is in progress. But if the newsprints are inferior, there will be too many wastage. And waste, we all know, costs money. Okay, these are paper that are supposed to turn themselves into newspaper. Instead, they are turning themselves into waste. And what happens is you're going to lose twice. You're going to lose not having the newspaper. And then two, if the waste is too much, you have to pay to throw the waste. Look at it. So waste is something that needs to be avoided because you pay for it twice. Do you understand? You pay for it twice. Okay? So, I mean, if you have to dispose of the waste, we've seen the problems we are encountering at Bakote dump site. Terrible, terrible, terrible. You know, look at the land Bakote dump site is occupying. That's huge land. But who can do anything with that land? You cannot plant anything there, and nobody can live there. So waste land. Can you imagine? That area could have been used for people to reside peacefully. It's not possible. Okay? So the next thing, next cost category we look at is water. Okay? Just like waste, you pay for water twice. Okay? If you consume water, you pay NAWEC. Their water bill will come. And nowadays, their water bill is terrible. I don't know who is working at NAWEC here. I think they need to look at the way they do their billing. I just received a bill this morning. It's $2,000 for a household of less than 15 people for a month. How can that be possible? Less than 15 people a month, you're consuming $2,000 worth of water. Okay? I mean, it's too expensive. They need to look at the way they do their charges, you know, because, I mean, okay, we don't have choice. We only have to use them, or we use our boreholes. There is no other third option. Okay? So, but water is very, 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 very important. And sometimes it may not be NAWEC's problem. It may be our own problem. Go to the houses, you know, go to the compounds of many people in the combos here. You can hardly go there without finding either a leaking tap or leaking pipe. Okay. Another thing is, you go anywhere on the streets, you hardly go anywhere around without finding burst pipes on highways and so on and so forth. Okay. They all contribute to paying huge sums of water. Okay. So like I said, we pay for water twice. You consume water, you pay for it. And when you use too much of water as sewage, when they drain it, you pay for it again. Because when you are draining, what they drain is water. Usually the other stuff don't fill up the thing quickly. I won't mention the name, but the other stuff, yeah? Okay? So we need to be careful how we use our water. Okay? You go to most organizations.
So which stuff?
Sorry? Is somebody talking?
Which stuff do you mean?
I said the other stuff that forms sewage. I'm not going to mention the stuff. You know the stuff better than me, don't you?
Oh, okay. I get it.
You got it. Okay, it's better. Okay, right. So that's it. So I think we need to control our water usage at the organization level, at the house level, and so on and so forth. Another thing is energy. Energy. Do you usually go around when you finish work to ensure that lights are switched off? How many of us does that? In your company, in your organization, even in your house, you go out around this time, you'll see a lot of street lights are on. You go to some houses, lights will be on. Broad daylight. Gambians are not careful of energy, to be honest. And it's not only you wasting it, it's not only you who is suffering, but you make everybody suffer. Because if you switch your light on, your light will be on and it will be consuming, okay, from NAWEC's main source. As such, there are other people who need it, they won't be able to get it. Okay, they won't be able to get it. You know, so when we're going out from our houses on daily basis, let's make sure we switch our lights off. Okay, if the fridge, the stuff in the fridge, if they are, you know, already cool and so on, switch the fridge off. By switching the fridge off, you are saving two things. You know, most fridges, they emit CO2. Do you know that? Most fridges, they emit CO2. And the fact that you're leaving the fridge on, it consumes electricity. That's another environmental cost. Okay? So at the offices, before you go, don't say this is not my office, so I don't mind. Especially if you are the last person. When you are going out, please make sure you check other offices that their lights are switched off. In case you don't have access to that office, report it to the security. Tell them that office XYZ, there are lights on there. And worst of all is some people even leave their AC on. They leave their AC on, they go home. Can you imagine how much energy is going to waste them the whole night? It's very typical of Gambians. Very typical of Gambians. Okay? So please, 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 let's take note of this. One, the benefits are we're going to save some money, as little as it may be. Two, we're going to save the environment. Three, we're going to do justice to the other people. If your lights are on, you don't need it. There are other people who need it, maybe for production, for other things. So it's not fair. You leave it on when others need it. Okay? Is this clear? Please, let's take note of this. Okay? This is something that I will commend Mohammed Jah, the CEO of Q Group. I mean, there was a time I took my kids to Q City, you know, and then he was there, you know, coincidentally, and his guys, the TV crew, they closed from work and then they were leaving, you know, and then coincided with him trying to enter the building. He was asking them, "Do you switch the AC off? Do you switch the lights off?" And so on and so forth. Which is very good, because as Gambians, we are not cognizant of energy consumption. So it's really good. Okay, it's definitely good. So please let us be, you know, policemen of goodness. Of, you know, if we see anything that, you know, is not going right, let us not say, "Oh, it doesn't. I don't care. It doesn't affect me." No, it affects you. It will affect you one way or the other. Okay. So please, let's take note of that. Okay. So how do we? Okay, we're going to still continue with controlling environmental cost. Okay, so transport and travel. How do we control that? Transport and travel.